What's going on, everybody? I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll jump right into this. We're covering number 8 and number 7 today, but before we get started, I'm going to ask that you hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, and hit the alert button before we get going. And if you know of somebody that might find this video series or this video particular useful, feel free to share it. You can get the link at the bottom underneath the thumbs up there. It'll say share, and then it'll give you the information. So we're going to do a quick review. We covered, had a bonus tip and covered number 10 and number 9 in the last video, and we'll cover number 8 and number 7 here. So we'll just give a quick review here. Bonus tip: determine if you really need to hire somebody right away, and if you do, when you need to hire them. And then the third thing to think about in that is, do you need to hire them part-time or full-time? So a lot of considerations there, but maybe you're starting a retail pad and you can't man that thing, the full-time is open. So maybe you do have to hire somebody up front. So again, that's what we covered with the bonus tip. Number 10, you need to establish an FEIN. And the reason I covered this one, it's important for a bunch of different reasons, but it's also one of the things that you'll need to do to get started, and it'll impact some of the other decisions you make. But the FEIN is your Federal Employer Identification Number, and it's basically your Social Security number for your business. And that's what you're going to need to pay your taxes to the U.S. federal government. And then also you're going to need that to register with the state, and then also to hire people. You may also need it to cover contracts. I'll let you listen to the prior video just to get the full detail of what I break down. And again, you'll have to, if you're looking at this and viewing this from out of the United States, you'll have to contact and do your due diligence to find out what you'll need to do. I'm sure there's going to be something similar to this, but you'll need to do your due diligence to see what that equivalent would be of an FEIN or Federal Employer Identification Number. Number 9, you're going to need to register your business with the state that you're planning on headquartering your business as well. Now, again, I made the determination, and I covered this in the prior video, but you don't necessarily have to register your business with the state, even if you're operating in that state, right? It depends on what type of business and what you're doing, but you may actually headquarter your state in a different state than where you're actually operating. So cover that as well in detail, and just some considerations that you might want to, take. Not necessarily, and again, you're not going to be long-term committed to necessarily operating in the current state, or even if you decide to establish it in a state that you're not operating in, you can always change that up. So seek help from your accountant in terms of that and what that looks like. Number 8, speak to a business attorney about any legal considerations. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you, and this is in general. When you start a small business, you need to know pretty much everything that's going on and have some ability to know how to do what's going on. But there are certain things that I want to encourage you to farm out and hire a professional. It'll be the best money you ever spend. And number 8 here, in terms of hiring a business attorney, you want to do that. You'll choke a little bit at the hourly rate in what they might charge you, but for you to try and wade through all the minutia of the legalese and the speak that you need to do to actually establish the paperwork that's needed and to make sure that you're actually covered, it is well worth the money to do it. Pay them their money. Make sure you get somebody that is legit and that you have trusted, but and interview several of them before you actually get going. So some of the things that you want to ask yourself and the reasons why is, are you dealing with a product or service that's going to require legal attention or protection, right? So maybe you have something that, is producing hazardous material, or maybe, there's high risk because you're dealing with the public in a way that, will definitely force you to have some considerations in terms of a retainer. Maybe you're opening a gym and you're going to have kids coming to play, at your gym, basketball, and so basketball and volleyball. And so you want to make sure that you get a waiver or talk to the business attorney about what types of things you need to have established to make sure that you're protected, because the more exposure you have to the public, the more risk you're putting yourself at in terms of what might happen down the line. And so that's something you don't want to skimp on. And unless you've gone to law school and know this for sure, it is not something that you really want to put yourself at risk of. Excuse me. Another thing an attorney can also do, as well as your accountant, they can also provide guidance over what type of business you should consider starting: an LLC, C Corp, sole proprietorship. They'll give you that advice as well. And each one of them will do different things in terms of what type of protections they offer. So, that being said, that's another thing that you'll do. You want to just maybe put some money aside, 100, 150 bucks an hour, maybe up to 300, depending on what size of the, law firm that you're hiring or engaging or retaining. But again, it would be worth it to have that money and spend that money up front to have an hour conversation, hour and a half, and they're going to give you some things to consider, and go from there. So some of them will just talk to you for free if they feel like you're going to, end up potentially going with them and it'll be long-term business for them. So again, call around, ask around and see, what that looks like, and go with somebody that you're comfortable and that you trust also. And then, again, is your product or service so new, or does it have, is it unique or life-changing? If you have something that is going to really just alter the space, or, so computers, right? I mean, back in the day, and you can read the books, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, everything that happened, there's a lot of stealing going on in terms of intellectual property back in the day, right? And so you want to make sure that you're protected, because Bill Gates actually took an operating system from, I think it was IBM, and used that. I think it was DOS, I can't remember, but no one knew back then what the implication of that would mean, right? And all of Windows was based on that. So you want to make sure that if you're developing something so new and so life-changing, that you are protected, and that may mean you need to speak to a patent attorney, right, or an intellectual property attorney, somebody that's going to give you that long-term protection for your business. And there's been multiple lawsuits over the years from companies who have, taken or leveraged an idea that's actually been patented, and it's a smaller guy, if you're a smaller business, and because they have the big bucks, they can go ahead and do that. But they've lost lawsuits. There's been one of the big three automakers, took a design of a windshield wiper from a smaller guy, and he spent years in court, but he ended up winning because it was his design and they did not have the appropriate, permission to use that. And he got his, and justly so, his major compensation for them doing that, right, and not being upfront and legit with what they did. So talking to a business attorney and making sure that you have that established up front is money well spent, I promise you. And again, another one where is going to be money well spent: interview a tax accountant and then hire a tax accountant. Here's the deal. When you own a business, you're responsible for everything. It does not mean you have to do everything. And you may not be big enough yet to actually have an in-house accountant. But it's something that, unless your spouse or your better half is going to help you out with this, and they have the specialty or the subject matter expertise of a tax accountant, a business tax accountant, to actually help you out, you want to hire somebody, because again, there are so many benefits to starting a business. And I actually recommend, whether you're starting a business or not, if you're smart, you will have, just for you and your family, a business that's established, because there's certain things that you can do and write-offs by having a business and running things through your business. Most people who are wealthy have a small business that they can run things through, right? So talk to your accountant about what that looks like. But this is going to be some of the best money you spend. They may not be as expensive as an attorney. A good one will be, pretty close. But again, what they're going to walk you through also is just what type of, business you should start. Sole proprietorship. It may be cheaper for you to do that, by the way, which basically means, as a sole proprietor, instead of having an FEIN, which I covered in tip number 10, you'll basically use your social security number. And while that may seem like the right thing to do, it does not offer you the protections that starting an LLC, an S Corp, or a C Corp, would. And so before you make that decision, and I know you're probably chomping at the bit to get going, and you'll just use your, let's call yourself a sole proprietorship. You don't have the paperwork established, and you also don't have the protection. And when you do that and you use your social security, if something happens to somebody and it's your product or your service that causes harm to come to somebody, it is you on the line, specifically you. And that means your house, your family's income. If your spouse or your better half is working, they're also at risk as well by you running a sole proprietorship. So maybe it's such a small business that it's not that big of a deal, but it doesn't take that much more to establish, one of the other options that I mentioned. It'll add that layer of protection that you really are going to need. So I want to strongly encourage you to do that. And again, spend an hour, walk them through, ask those types of questions, get your questions together before you actually go in and talk to that, tax accountant, and make sure that they walk you through why you should consider each one of those. And again, it'll be money that is well worth spending. So I'm going to stop here. And when we, the next video, we're going to cover number 6 and number 5. Do me a favor, again, hit the subscribe button, hit the alert button, and hit the thumbs up. Appreciate it. And then share this video with anybody that might benefit from hearing this top 10 series.